watch Delhi's games in the IPL as a analyst or as a fan or just as a regular viewer?
A scout has to work in tandem with the analyst. The analyst has to work in tandem with the coaches. The head coach will have something in his mind in the way that they want to set up.
When it comes to auction planning, how much cricket do you watch in terms of recording information before an auction? On an average, what all cricket would you watch?
And he comes and bowls in the nets for RCB, and all of those batters in RCB, including the greats. They play him. They try to simulate Rashid Khan. Completely let go of a couple of big names. I'm not saying what they have done is wrong in terms of what they got, right? But I'm saying letting go of such high quality players. Shreyas probably slightly more organized. Rishabh comes with, okay, chalo, let me go and uh, you know handle this on the field. I don't like to be a textbook style player.
क्रिकेट हो या म्यूचुअल फंड्स, सही फोकस है सबसे जरूरी।
आप खुश हैं कि नहीं?
मार्केट ट्रेंड के
मेरा
बाद
फ्यूचर
शोर को म्यूट करके अपने इन्वेस्टमेंट्स में डटे रहने में ही समझदारी है, क्योंकि म्यूचुअल फंड्स सही है।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
क्रिकेट क्रॉनिकल्स विद चंद्रेश में आप सबका स्वागत है. वी हैव विद अस अ वेरी स्पेशल गेस्ट, श्रीराम सोमयाजुला, who's been associated with a number of teams in the IPL or in international cricket, in leagues all over the world as a data analyst, computer analyst, video analyst. Call him what you want, but he's a whiz kid, and he's helped a lot of teams get out of trouble, plan for teams. First up, Sriram, thanks a lot for joining us on Cricket Chronicles with Chandresh. Do you still uh, watch Delhi's games in the IPL as a analyst or as a fan or just as a regular viewer?
Chandresh, thank you very much for having me on board first. We go a long way. I remember those times when we were together in Delhi. We shared great moments there. Unfortunately, we didn't even qualify, but but that apart, we still had good memories. Together there in how we carried through the season in 2018 and beyond. Yeah, I'm still watching a lot of matches in the IPL, particularly DC's games. Even the last night one was truly, uh, a treat to watch. How DC played, particularly how Akshar Patel came at number four. For me, it was a surprise. A lot of surprises actually this season with DC. Don't ask me from which perspective I was watching the game, because it's very hard to put in. Sometimes, you want to see that if you were part of the team, you would have suggested this. If you were part of, the management staff, what you would have suggested the team coaching staff to do this, that. But yeah, I mean, sitting back is happy. To it's easy to say I could have done this, he could have done this, but enjoying a good game of cricket. Look, one more win somewhere, DC would have had their luck in qualifying this time, right? Or heartbreaking to see, especially KL Rahul not qualifying yet again. Almost 10 years now. Uh, he hasn't lifted the trophy. So for that man's sake, for Akshar Patel's sake, they were a wonderful team. Heartbreaking to see DC not doing going all the way even to the qualifiers this time. But yeah, DC all the time, man.
How many years did you work with DC as their analyst?
I think 7 years. I think.
That's a pretty long association.
Yeah, was good.
And just to explain to my viewers, what does an analyst actually do with an IPL team per se? When does the work start? Suppose the season ends yesterday. Does the preparation for the next season start the next day, or do you wait some time? How does the whole thing work?
Look, You know, the season doesn't start or end for the scouts, the analysts, the coaches, the people in the IPL. You know, it's there's so many things at stake for you, right? Not necessarily that one has to actually say, okay, tomorrow onwards I will allocate time for this and I'll start working towards building the squad or building this team to what we want it to be. It is a 24/7, 365 days work. You start when you wake up from the bed till you sleep, you will be thinking about this, and that is what differentiates this league with all the other leagues in the world. IPL is a 365-day job. It's not easy, and I'm not, sort of giving that hype to this role or the people around it. I'm not saying that it's going to be taxing. It is all about how you look at this role and the other roles together, right? Like, a scout has to work in tandem with the analyst has to work in tandem with the coaches. The head coach will have something in his mind in the way that they want to set up, and all of a sudden the owners will come and say, they want to look at something completely different. And their thought process, look, that's their baby. At the end of the day, they want to see that vision in their squad. Sometimes these are the things, the when the ideas don't align with your thought process, that's where the gap builds. And a lot of the times you give too much importance to the numbers, a lot of the times you give too much importance to the names, and you go behind some players in the auction, bypassing your original plans that you would have done for the whole season, understanding what they are, and you go off the road, then you get into misery. And we have seen that time and again, even this year. We don't need to take a lot of names. Without taking names, I'm saying this. A lot of the big ticket players this time haven't performed. That, I know, right? But it's not like, they demanded that, right? It incidentally happened that way for them. They ended up getting the highest bid, but that pressure is always there. That is to be absorbed by the player. If a player is not able to absorb that much, right, he's not fit to be playing at that highest level. I mean, let's be honest. The same player goes to a national team, has a different role, different duty, but he performs there. But when he comes to IPL, it's the pressure that builds around the player and the peripherals, and it then gets deep rooted. And that's when the analysts, the coaches come together and see whether it really requires, whether he or she, I mean, let's talk about both men and women cricket right now. Both, I mean, women cricket by large hasn't come to the extent of what a men's cricket has grown, but it is growing, isn't it? So if you look at that, how you handle the pressure, how a cricketer, an athlete handles all of these on and off the field, and most importantly, whether they are able to transcend that experience of theirs into action, action into results. That's what they see, and I think most of the coaches have actually, some favorites already, before they come on to the auction planning and all that. So they have their team set.
When it comes to auction planning, how much cricket do you watch in terms of recording information before an auction? On an average, what all cricket would you watch? Would you watch cricket, international cricket, associate cricket, T20 leagues abroad? What all would you watch to put together an information docket for the coaching staff and the management?
We don't pick and choose any cricket and every cricket. I remember in 2025 when the mega auction happened. I was consulting for one of the teams and just for the auction, and I was asked to get some very unearthed talent and who is ready to play for IPL, and we found some 30 odd different type of bowlers. You can call it mystery bowlers, you can call it different type of bowlers. uh, you know Everybody, that term which was attached as mystery is no more, the trend, because everybody wants to try something new. Somebody like a Digvesh Rathi comes and does a carom ball and he calls it a mystery. And but today, you don't know whether you will be able to land the ball in the right place for six balls in a row. So mystery is one bit of your skill which you are able to execute at the right time when needed the most against particular type of batsman or a matchup that you create, right? Now, any specific skill from a specific type of bowler is always special, but how they will be able to adapt that into the game scenario is what we will be looking for when we go out for scouting. So what happens is, we when we scout, there are huge data that we get. We try to go out and then see how the tennis ball cricket happens. So even those ISPLs and ITS, Indian tennis ball leagues and stuff like that, and most of the street cricket where they bowl those carom balls off cutters of the fast bowlers, what they do, and back of the hand release. Though you know what I'm saying, right? So those
Yeah, yeah.
special skills who possess, we take their footages and then come and analyze and see whether they are capable of going and delivering and calling them to the nets, asking them to come and bowl there and give them a couple of game scenarios. So the process, like I said, doesn't start with just the 2020 franchise league, because the world cricket is moving to that the greater extent, where the evolution of T20, if you see from the last 2005 5 6 onwards, where it started, when IPL started in 2008 to till now, has been huge difference. Like, I know a boy who bowls very exactly like what Rashid Khan was doing, right? And he is in Bangalore, and he comes and bowls in the nets for RCB, and all of those batters in RCB, including the greats, they play him. They try to simulate Rashid Khan in the nets, and all of a sudden you see his profile, gets boosted up, and then he gets a 5 million, 6 million views in how he goes and sort of simulates what Rashid Khan will do, or a Mujibur Rahman would do, those mystery kind of bowlers. So that those are the special talent that the teams will be asking for, and you will have to work through it, right? It is not going to happen just with one tournament. And like I said, you go to Kabul, you go to Nangarhar, you have seen how Afghanistan cricket has evolved over a period of time, and you go into the regions and then pick players from there. And that's not going to happen just like that. You need to have a strong scouting background for that, understand what the team needs. Yes, scouting doesn't mean that you will just scout them and then you put them into the IPL radar directly, right? There is a process to it. You groom them. There is an investment that goes inside. And the franchises, all the franchises I'm talking about, have invested heavily in that right now. And I'm sure, it's going to, really uh, create a good pathway for all of these franchises at different stages. Because if you see, all of these IPL franchises have franchises across the globe, in South African 20, and in ILT 20, go to MLC, now the 100. So people want to get exposure. People want all these young cricketers who are good enough, or probably mystery element, for them to go and play in different places. The Australian team used to have a couple of Indian boys earlier,
Yeah,
travel with them. So
yeah.
those Chinamen and those type of bowlers. So for you to have such bowlers, such talent, I think it's a year long program. It's not going to start today and then after the season ends, you don't stop scouting. So
And so just to go back to your time with Delhi Capitals, was there were there times when you're watching a match and you get very excited looking at some talent, and would you have a group where you would share, oh, I've seen this boy in this league, or this match or that match? Because at the end of the day, no one watches as much cricket as an analyst, and so would you do that? Would you get excited, and then would you hope that the others also get excited when you throw in a name when you're looking at a match or something of that sort?
yeah, what is in your control is what you share with them, right? But what happens beyond that is the player's luck, and it is in the management's decision at the end of the day, right? uh, if you personally ask me, like you rightly said, used to watch every single cricket, every nook and corner. I mean, there's European Cricket League, if you know, there's a lot of funny memes and roles that actually pops out on my feeds all the time about their fieldings and stuff. So even that cricket for me brings out something, when you watch it. Now there is room for improvement there. So how can you go and talk to them? How can you make a pitch for yourself there? If you were to go and do something different completely and bring the standard of cricket there. Secondly, you watch a good talent. There was one talent from Kuwait cricket, right? An Indian star again, left Indian cricket, went on there, mid so he played there and he scores massive runs there. And then he was in the radar of a couple of teams internationally. I'm saying global, other global leagues. But obviously, to come back into the IPL, it is going to be a huge task and an uphill task for all these cricketers, because the level of cricket obviously is massive. There's no comparison, right, from the other leagues. Now, if you ask me personally, yes, I do a lot of work, but some finds, for example, I used to have, I actually, remember about Matheesha Pathirana, how he started the cricket back with us in Bangla Tigers in 2000, I think 19, when he hasn't played anything. He's just come out of under 19 cricket. And then I was talking to his manager, and I was telling him very clearly that I desperately need this kind of a bowler, because there is no more Lasit Malinga, right? We need to create somebody new. And then he's a 17, 18-year-old boy. He's just out of under 19s from Sri Lanka. We need to somehow get him a chance to sort of build his portfolio, right? And we did that rightly. And then in no time, he was picked by CSK. I think in the subsequent year, he got picked by CSK in the net as a net bowler, because you remember those lockdown times where you were called as a net bowler, you were quarantined, and as with the other
Yeah.
members of the team. So he was part of the CSK camp, and he was so happy. Sri Lanka cricket obviously never gave NOC for that year, but the subsequent year he got picked. And he's sure retentions in any team that he walks up to right now. So he's
Yeah.
in demand. Now that is how these cricketers have evolved, and that happiness you get for yourself when you see such stories behind each and every cricketer's evolution and how they have come up. I mean, it is pleasing. It is so nice to say that, okay, you live for this and you do this work for this kind of satisfaction that you get at the end of the day.
Uh, Sriram, you have also worked in leagues outside India, uh, in terms of like BPL. Correct me if I'm wrong. T10
You're right.
everywhere,
Yeah,
and also LPL, if I'm not mistaken. Did you work in
of course.
LPL?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I want to understand. You work with different teams, different players in those leagues. Now, I want to take three names that I'm always intrigued by. One is Riley Rossouw. Second is David Wiese. Third is Sikandar Raza. Now, these guys are champions in all the other leagues. But why is it that when it comes to IPL, they didn't get that many chances as in the other leagues?
You see, it's all about the roles, I would say. Very similar to Colin Ingram. Sorry, Riley Rossouw was Colin Ingram, and Colin Ingram played his part in the IPL and in other leagues. But it's all about what you need in that particular slot, in that particular moment, in that squad, right? Every team has a different thought process when it comes to what you want to put in as a team, as a player there, as a role of a player. David Wiese, obviously one of the finest all-rounders I've ever seen from the domestic or rather associate world. And then he went on to play for South Africa. After that, again, came back to Namibia. I think probably one of the finest cricketers, I would say. And then he went on to play across the leagues everywhere. But I think there is something more an IPL expects of these players. But if you look at Sikandar Raza was never part of the discussions also until about 2021, 2022. Because I remember, talking about Sikandar Raza, and I look, he's a great friend of mine at the end of the day, but you can only do so much, because there are 20 other people in your war room deciding about whom you want to be picking at at the auction, right? And there are no clear favorites there. It's all about the demand and what supply is there, and what you want at the end of the day for your team, because you are building a squad for you to go and win. and IPL will never accept substandard quality or anything. But that doesn't mean the guys that we are talking about are substandard, because there could be somebody who's better than 1 inch better than one better than the other player, right? Sikandar Raza probably has not gotten enough chances before that, and when he got his chance, I mean, let's say I think he's already won two IPL man of the matches in the less number of matches
Yeah,
that he has played,
yeah,
right? Probably, I remember the knock against Mumbai. It was a crucial game, must-win game. He won it for them, and for Punjab, I'm saying, right? So for me, I don't think that these guys are not given enough chances. Probably the age is also against them, and all these three players that you talk about probably are in the late 30s, right? And IPL is not something which will sort of take the players at the fag end of 30s, and that again goes back to their fitness and stuff. Look, both Wiese and Raza are super fit players, and Faf du Plessis, who was playing until about 37, 38 for CSK, RCB, scoring runs for them. So I don't think age is just a matter, but also if you consider, you would want fresh legs. You want to see who is going to come and take over that role, and how you would want to position yourself in the squad. Honestly, all these three players should have gotten much more chances, but that's the sad part of IPL, right? You can't really, if you go into the details of why they have not been picked. Yes, statistically we can talk about Sikandar Raza probably had some trouble playing short balls, not necessarily today, but probably 4 or 5 years back they would have said that, right? And David Wiese, rightly so, again he would have had similar issues in trying to pull behind the score of the wicket of against the seamers. Riley Rossouw had clear cut issues trying to play on the rise or the offside or point. He used to get out for the balls coming into him. So there are a lot of things that goes in plannings and in discussions for during the recruitment phase. But again, having said that, it is not single person's decision. We only give facts and figures. At the end of the day, the head coaches, obviously the team owners, all of them get together, discuss, deliberate, come up with what is the best option that you can think as a winning formula, for a combination to be formed. So these three players in particular were very unlucky to have not gotten as many chances as probably the other players, but they are also equally good or probably better than some of the cricketers. I mean, I've had honest chats and conversations with Sikandar Raza. He used to call, we used to talk, every time why I'm not getting picked in the IPL. He used to literally, be fuming at himself. He said, I have to do something more, something better. You see, I probably think that actually, inspired him more to get out there and get better. I think year on year, that struggle that he went through in the first, couple of years, I think in 2020, 2021, that probably fetched him the contract eventually and started performing in every other league, right? He used to finish games for for fun. He used to go and get 250 strike rate, 300 strike rate, and then win games. I mean, the other leagues are equally tough in their own standards, in their own ways, right? So it's not easy.
then also there's one more thing that I've noticed, Sriram. Associate players. Uh, when you worked with Delhi Daredevils, when I was also there, we had one big name associate player that was Sandeep Lamichane from Nepal that we brought into the team at that time. But associate players don't seem to come in as much. Say, I'm just thinking aloud here. Someone like a Bas de Lead of the Netherlands, he performs all-round performer. Uh, is there a case? Is there a reason why, apart from some Sandeep Lamichane, Ryan Tendeskate, uh, we don't seem to get a lot of the associate players involved in the IPL? What is the thinking there? Because you've been in the war room, so to speak, when everything's being planned.
You see, I mean, it's a very good question. It's very, 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 subjective though, because a lot of the teams today, go with what they want. Andre Berger came from where? And he is part of the RR setup today. And that happens after he is picked by the South African team. He was not picked as a Namibian into the team, right? He was picked into the RR after he represented RR. Sorry, South Africa, right? So if you look at such players, I mean, I would easily say Deependra Singh Airee would probably fit in any team. He would walk into any team. I think I don't know why, but I think it's time that IPL really opens up their eyes and then looks at such players. Um, Connor Hussain, right? He again comes from similar background, right? He comes and scores runs, but when he played in the associate world, uh, not many would have probably known him. And today I can take a few more player names. Gerard Erasmus, who can play 360 degree. He's not part of it. And there was this fast bowler from Scotland, all rounder, in fact, Sufyan Sharif. He used to be exceptional in T20 cricket, right? He could have probably been there. George Munsey, we all know how capable he is as a top order batsman. He could have been picked, right? Like you rightly said, Bastilade has also been there, and then there was um, Paul Van Meckering, right? Plus Fred Klassen. There were so many of such talent that have missed out on the bus for IPL. But unfortunately, it's all about, again, getting into the details, understanding who is better at that particular stage, and who can be, giving you the performances better than XYZ that's available in the market. Look, you only have 8 slots for foreigners, right? And out of the 8, you want your best names. You want, like, there are 500 names outside in the market today. You won't be saying that I want some all-rounder who has just come up the ranks without taking their names. uh, I'm saying this as opposed to a Glenn Maxwell if he's available. Of course, Glenn Maxwell, we all would have wanted to see him, play longer, play more, score more runs, all of that. But still, Glenn Maxwell is Glenn Maxwell. He showed us what he can do in that game against Afghanistan in the World Cup, right? So for me, if you still ask me, I would go with a Glenn Maxwell. That's how the understanding of this sport is, or this IPL is. But definitely more associate names out there currently are much, 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 much better, and I really wish that they get an opportunity to be part of the squad, because once you start playing, practicing, with this cream players, I think you are just there, right, knocking the door to get into the playing 11s of any IPL side. Look, today I'm telling you, in less than probably 24 months, you would want to ideally see Deependra Singh Airee to be playing with an IPL side. What a talent he is! What a talent!
And in the same way, the one thing I'm always intrigued, you work with a player all through the season, and then when you start reviewing the season gone by, and then look ahead and plan for the next season when you are with the IPL, uh, would it be tough for you because you may have worked up a relationship with the player, but you have to recommend that the player has to be let go of? How difficult was it?
I remember very clearly. I'm taking this. If you want to edit this, you can edit this. I'll leave the choice to
Sure.
you. In 2019, we were that close to releasing Avesh Khan. I was hell bent on not letting him go, and at the same time, it was not my call, because we know Avesh Khan was with the franchise and they have groomed him, and he's going to be the next big thing for Indian cricket as well, because he's knocking the door for Indian cricket, because he's doing well, he's performing well in the red ball cricket, and then he's coming up the ranks, and he's done well in the India A as well. Now, why would you let go of such a talent, right? And if you keep him, you are doing more good for the franchise in the coming years, because you're only actually in the second year of your mini auction cycle. You still have another year to go. You would rather benefit of from him by keeping him at that cost than letting him go, and he suddenly raises his price and value, and market value goes up. You'll have to fight for him in the auction, rightly so. That's what happened to LSG, right? He went for 10 crores and Delhi missed him later eventually. Now, for me, hard call had to be taken, and I put my numbers and I said to the coaching staff. Obviously, some coaching staff wanted him to be released. The owners were actually thinking, whether to release him or to keep him. Right? It was a dilemma. And obviously, none of these things were discussed with the players themselves. Right? It is all whatever we discuss happens within the four walls. So now there was a time when it was the we have to release give the auction release list and retentions list to BCCI. I remember till the last day we were actually battling on this issue, whether to keep him or release him, keep him or release him. Eventually, some sense prevailed, and then we said we will retain him. So that was a very tough call. But if you see, Avesh Khan went on to be one of the best bowlers for DC that season, the subsequent season,
Hmm.
right? And then the year after that, he went on to play for the national team as well, right? He was
Yeah,
picked. And for
yeah.
me, I'm telling you, if we didn't take the tough call, then anything could have happened. I'm not saying that you would have missed out on him, but there could be somebody else better than him. But the similar thing, if you see Harshal Patel, who was your highest wicket taker in 2020, we had to let go of him for. I think it's just a combination that they were looking at, and they were not getting what they wanted out of him, the coaching staff. So probably they made that tough call. But if you ask me personally, Harshal should have been there in the team. He went on to RCB and he became the best bowler for RCB.
Hmm.
You
And then
remember?
went on to play for India. Yeah.
Yeah, he went on to play for India as well after that.
Hmm. Yeah. So, with whom rests the final call with regards to the picking a player or not picking a player? You
In
present.
my
You are like you are like the lawyer presenting the facts. So who's the judge finally?
in my opinion, it should be the head coach. You look, everybody now. Let's have a context to this, right? I may take a minute more to explain this. CSK's downfall has not been because of what exactly happened, over the last couple of years. It has happened over the last several years that they didn't have a good bench. And who are they blaming today, or who are they questioning today? They are questioning the head coach. Why the head coach did not have? I'm not getting into the details of the matter, but what I'm trying to say is, when you actually go and criticize a person, and you also give enough confidence, enough say credit to them when they actually select the team, and when they have done such good selections, give them another chance to go and build the squad for future sake. Don't now make your trades according to what you think is correct, or what you think the world is seeing, and then the Instagram popularity, this that, and then spoil the whole combination, right? There was no need for CSK to have actually sling that mud on the trade matter, and completely let go of a couple of big names. I'm not saying what they have done is wrong in terms of what they got, right? But I'm saying letting go of such high quality players uh, actually has let the team down. So the head coach probably with that thought process, he would have also been disappointed, I'm sure, right? So such cases you should give, because they are the ones who are going to control the team inside. When I say control, take control of the team in the sense they know what they need to be doing at the time of crisis. It is that experience that actually is going to go and help you win games. You may not be you may be having a very poor performance on the field that particular day, but you might share a piece of advice to your player that could help them perform better and win the game, and
Hmm.
eventually qualify, or probably go on to win the title. So for
Hmm.
me, I think that is what the coaching staff, the head coach, will be looking out for, the kind of experience that they will be looking for, and that eventually should be left out with the head coach, no doubt. Could be anybody. Could be the teams that are winning and being at the top over the last 3-4 years, or the team that hasn't done well over the last 2-3 seasons, and the ongoing season as well. But still, You fail. It's okay. I mean, not everybody who's playing is going to go and win the title, right?
Uh, which was in your 7 years with Delhi Daredevils and Delhi Capitals, which was your most fun auction to plan for, and which you felt that you got everything that you wanted?
2020, 2022.
Why is it like that?
Because in 2019, when we finished that season on a high, finished third
Hmm.
overall, and I think uh, the only failure for DC then 2019 was against CSK. We lost thrice. Back to back to that, but we came back in 2020 and we thrashed them again twice. And though that was a statement that DC made, because how Andrik Nokia came in and Rabada, the entire the armory that we had in the bowling department was phenomenal, right? So for me, that continued. That success continued in 2021. Also, obviously, the IPL was broken into two halves. First one in India, and then came back to UAE later. But I think 2020 success carried on to 2021. But 2021, when we actually had to decide which way to go, 2022 probably was the year we should have made some tough calls and retained a few players, which didn't happen. So the good part was on in 2019, and the not so good part was in 2022, letting go of some of the names and retaining the names that we didn't want to and stuff like that. So I didn't want to take names, but I'm just saying, internally there were a lot of discussions that have happened, and I would have wanted to see some names which we discussed should have been retained, and things would have been different for DC.
And when you're at the auction, you know that you've done well. Do you tell the others in the auction that we've got what we wanted? I think we have the squad. Does that happen?
You see, this is something that I actually, don't agree with many of the experts or the other people in the ecosystem also, when they say this. We have built a very good team or a great team or a great side on paper and stuff. It's because you do the auction in December and you have 5 months before you get into a tournament, or 3 months rather minimum, right? And you do not know, no single person is tracking. Probably I do, and I know many of the analysts would be probably doing this. No single person has the time to go and monitor all the 30 players that you pick.
Hmm.
You have 25 players in the squad. You also have some extra players that are in your mind as backups. In your own mind, if they get unsold, you still have them in your radar, right? So you will actually be working on 30-35 players in your mind as a franchise. So
Hmm.
you do not know literally what they do, what is their routine when they wake up to sleep, right? And where they will be playing, what is their workload. There could be many things that can actually affect their game before they come into IPL. And nobody will be not playing for their respective national teams if they are playing. That's because of their contractual obligations. Secondly, nobody will say, okay, I'm going to play IPL now, I'll be 50-50 in here and I'll play safe. They all want to go and play out there. Injuries, you know, are the most part of your planning. It actually takes you probably have to take a hit on this matter. That's the injury management, because injuries are not something that you can prevent, right? You can only protect yourself to an extent. You can't but say, okay, it's going to be a half catch effort from my side when I go to a national team, and because I'm going to be playing for IPL in 3 months time. So what I'm trying to say is, in the time period between an auction to the tournament, you have 3-4 months. You'll have to monitor your player constantly, and that nobody is doing. If somebody can actually track that part and come up with some solution in engaging players and see if they can that is where I was actually talking to one of the officials a couple of days back with one of the IPL teams. They're saying there should be a monitoring system of what these players do. CSK have had more than 11 injuries this season,
Yeah.
and I'm very sure their medical staff would be monitoring all of these players, isn't it? If they
Yeah.
are not doing, there is something seriously wrong in the management. But if they are doing it, then why this injury happens? Injury is not happening on just on the field. Probably, is carried forward from somewhere,
Hmm.
and you probably have not attended to it, or you have attended and there is only a little bit that you could have done because of the time constraints that you have, and there could be many factors to it. But what I am trying to say is, you cannot simply manage everything on paper. On paper, just for the optics sake, you can say, look, I know I have built a great squad. I think this what we believed in 2018 with Delhi Daredevils also. I think the team that we had in 2018 was phenomenal again. It could have easily beaten a couple of teams this season in the IPL,
Hmm.
right? You had Glenn Maxwell. Look, you had Mohammad Shami there, who was at
Hmm.
his best, who was playing
Yeah.
at his best for the Indian team also. So you tell me what was not there for, and Prithvi Shaw was there, and Gautam
Yeah.
Gambhir was there again. He comes from KKR and from after winning a title, and we had Shreyas, we had Rishabh, we had Abhishek Sharma.
Yeah.
Tell me what was not there.
Everything was there. Yeah.
The reason why probably we didn't do as well as what we would have expected them to do. Obviously some we had some injury concerns, and nobody can say the wicket was this that. Even the coaching staff wouldn't have said that. I mean, I remember coach Ricky Ponting was telling one day that no complaints, no excuses. You just didn't play good cricket, that's it, right? Take it on it and then walk on and see if you can go and perform better the next game. So I think no excuses, when it comes to not performing in the IPL level, because your players are paid very high. They know what their expectations are. They cannot come and say, fatigue, you are traveling every second day, third day out of each city. I mean, all these are known before you were picked also, right? You got to tune yourself to what the IPL demands are.
And you worked with a few captains in the IPL. You worked with a few coaches. Can you briefly tell me how was it working with, say, Gautam, Shreyas, Rishabh? The switch from Shreyas to Rishabh uh, when you were at Delhi Capitals, and obviously in terms of coach Ricky Ponting.
I'll start with coach. There
Hmm.
is no better coach than Ricky Ponting. Again, with all respect to all the other coaches, there's no one better coach than Ricky Ponting in terms of the awareness of the game, in terms of what he can get the best out of the players and his staff.
Hmm.
Again, no offense, no disrespect or disregard to any of the other coaches that I worked with or part of the system. Everybody has their way of expressing, and we all know what the legendary Ricky Ponting was when he was a cricketer. We all probably wanted to see him, and different opinions, different thought process, but to work with him probably is the most satisfying thing in my entire career.
Hmm.
I will tell this even after 25, 30 years, if I if I live and if I had to share this with somebody, simply because the kind of freedom that he gives you, I have not seen this from many others.
Hmm.
Easily, the most. Um, I should say, I'm struggling to get some to get this. I'm saying easily the best coach who gives you the freedom to do what you want. He will not come
Hmm.
and say anything negative about you, even if you have made a mistake. You try to
Hmm.
express that in a very positive way, right?
Hmm.
There was an incident. I should say this. I don't know if you want to still put this up or edit that
No,
later,
go
but
ahead, go ahead. No.
yeah, I've made blunders. I've made mistakes, and in one of the games, look, I had some health issues in one of the games. Um, Game was going on, and I think in Bangalore, any other coach would have probably come and said or slapped on the face and said, "Look, get out of this team now. I don't want you." There was an incident where I didn't sleep the whole night. I was working, and I was also battling some health issues, serious health issues. I dozed off during the game.
Oh God.
Not, I mean, literally, like I just, closed my eyes, and I knew that this gentleman has not even said that to me, as he's not offended me by saying that, or he knew that he probably could offend me by saying that. Probably he did not know the background of my health or
Hmm.
the kind of medications that I was going through. In fact, I was not going to do IPL that year,
Hmm.
right? It so happened that I had to be there, and I did, and I amidst a lot of the issues. Not that was just one issue, right? But there were other issues
Hmm.
along with it in the team. But I said I didn't
Hmm.
want to disturb the card because obviously, it's through the season you want no turbulence for the coaching staff, for the team to go and perform better there, right? So
Hmm.
I stayed on. Coach was there. He didn't even come to me and ask me what happened, why this happened. He said we could have done a better planning. We could have probably been better on the field.
Hmm.
He said this to me, and he knew what he was referring to when he said this, right? We lost the game against RCB. I'm not saying I was the reason. Probably, the guys playing inside could have taken it all on them. I was also part of it, right? The reason why I'm saying this, Chandresh, is very important. You know how you tackle this whole thing as a
Hmm.
coach, right?
Hmm.
I just, like a wink of an eye, obviously, you miss out on a very interesting moment of the game, or you miss out on something very important. Uh, that few seconds, I was switched off just once. It was not, you know, a nap I was taking on the in the dugout. It just,
Hmm.
I had to. I wasn't sleeping the whole night for some issues, and I had a very serious health, scare then, and I
Hmm.
was coming out of. So I was on severe medications. I was on drugs, right? So
Hmm.
when I say drugs, it's obviously the steroids. So
Hmm.
you know what it feels when you're sitting in a dugout, and I know how what I was going through. It's impossible for me to explain all of that, right? But
Hmm.
when this moment happened, this gentleman, he was what he was. He did not open his mouth. He didn't say anything. He didn't mean to offend me or anything. Any
Hmm.
other coach there probably would have said, "Okay, thank you, enough. Enough is enough, and we will see you later." Now,
Hmm.
this is something that I wanted to bring up in this conversation, and I owe a lot to Coach Ricky for what I learned of him,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Uh, but obviously, even I would have probably been sad or upset, or if he had said something, or because he didn't say much, I was more upset because you would ideally want your parent to shout at you for what you did and then get past that. Otherwise, they will be thinking in their mind, like, why my mom is not saying anything, why my dad's not saying anything. I know I've made a mistake. It actually makes
Hmm.
you feel more guilty, right? So
Hmm.
that kind
Yeah.
of that kind of feeling I had for a bit. But then I think we spoke about it, and then we ironed out those issues and we went past it. But that was not the reason why we didn't qualify, though. Yeah.
And what about the captains? Gautam
Uh,
Gambhir first, and then you
probably
had
the
Shreyas. Yeah.
Gautam, probably the easily, for me, one of the best leaders for the team, because he had his own way of running, or sort of taking the team forward with his vision. But probably towards the fag end of his career, he could have had a little bit more, um, you know ways to work out with his youngsters, who are coming up the ranks, like Shreyas, Rishabh, and Abhishek and Prithvi's and stuff. I think probably he missed out on a bit of here and there. Some tricks he would have missed out, but I think if he had continued playing, he would have probably still been my best captain. Strategically, tactically, a very very sound person. Shreyas, to the point, no wasting time, is a sweetheart to work with, no doubt. He's one of the best humans, right? So as Rishabh.
Hmm.
Again, tactically, Rishabh could have been better. He does a lot of planning for himself. He is like see ball, hit ball kind of an attitude, but that's pertaining to his game. But I think Shreyas was more attentive with what his game plans will be, with the bowlers, with what he should be doing. Probably it comes from two different style of thinking. I should say. Shreyas probably slightly more organized. Rishabh comes with, okay, chalo, let me go and you know handle this on the field. I don't like to be a textbook style player, even as a captain. I think I'm more instinctive, and that's the kind of approach he had. But nothing wrong. He had his own bit of success as well. Today he's struggling. I think it's because of the noise that's created outside. There's so many people coming and offering their thought process. I heard a lot of the stories, but again, leaving it to just the head coach and Rishabh, he will be again. I'm sure he will be making a lot of bringing in a few surprises for the team. We all know what Shreyas can do, what he did last year with Kings, and then the year before that with KKR, and this year, unfortunate. I think something to do with what uh, probably again some kind of confidence and over reliance on some of the players at the top there. Uh, all of a sudden, we see the graph going down on the fast bowlers. Probably you know, I wouldn't be too harsh on any of the players because look, at the end of the day, everybody wants to go and win. Nobody's going to go and play a game to lose there. But I heard some interviews from the coaches, James Hopes. I must say, James Hopes probably next to Ricky, one of the best humans, best coaches that I have worked with. Tactically, very very sound, very knowledgeable person, very less spoken, soft spoken. He knows what he needs to do. He knows what he needs to take it to his bowlers. He was a bowling coach with us in DC. Now he is also heading. I think he's the head coach for Sydney Sixers from this year onwards.
Yeah, yeah.
I sincerely want to see James Hopes, doing well at the highest level because he is a very capable coach.
And that switch from Shreyas to Rishabh as captain, even when Shreyas came back from his injury, was it a tough call because you were part of the brain's trust at that time?
No, it wasn't because look, it was just an organic move. Because obviously Rishabh also played along in the same franchise for a number of years before with Shreyas, and when Shreyas had an injury, which we all thought that he will come back, but I think just the second, third day, the physio said he's out of the tournament. Right after the scan reports came, and I think even Shreyas was convinced that he was not going to be playing for the rest of the season. In fact, he missed out on the Australian tour just after the 2020. Because of that, and then followed by the World Cup as well. So it was a big, minus point for him in his own career. But shift for captaincy from this IPL to the next IPL for from Shreyas to Rishabh was just an organic move. There was nobody else in the contention, honestly. And Rishabh was also, like I said, he was a fine captain. And if you ask me whether he was a fine captain or you had a good team, I would say both. He was thinking for himself. He was at the prime. He was at his prime, with his game. He was doing very well. He was probably, winning test matches for us. But nobody actually, saw his decline in the T20 coming in the next year or a couple of years because he was clearly exposed on a few things in his batting. Probably that confidence is probably showing in his game now, I would say. In my personal opinion, I think Rishabh needs to focus on his batting now, get back to winning ways with his bat, and then naturally, see, he's a confidence player,
Hmm.
right? If he starts doing well in one department, look, you remember last year what happened when he scored that 100. He comes
Yeah.
off that accident and then trains for almost 20 months, and there's all the medical staff puts him back on the field, and then he goes and then he comes and does a somersault after scoring 100. That's the kind of attitude that he has, right now. It's not easy, right? As it's not as simple as what we say as well. So for someone to understand what his confidence is, I think he needs to start scoring runs. So once he starts scoring runs, he'll probably be a better leader as well, right? So that's how I see Rishabh's transformation going forward as well.
One last thing. when as an analyst, uh, you said you never stop watching cricket, you never stop analyzing, but during the game, how difficult you're watching the match constantly. Just for my viewers understanding, what is it that an analyst does during a game?
See, gone are those days where people will be sitting and coding on the software, recording each and every ball, what's happening there, and then showing them replays. But what I used to do, I will tell, I don't know about the others, and everybody has a different style of working. For me, I'm very clear about what my coach will be wanting. Of course, the first thing that they want is to watch a video. Second thing, what sometimes they will ask which player has gone out, which player has come in for fielding, substitutes, which over. It's all to sort of manage workload sometimes and understand on the opposition side as well what they will be doing. Why this player came in at 19th over? Why is after bowling completing his 4 overs quota? Why he comes inside? So keeping track of those things and every single game you would ideally want to take note of such things, right? Apart from just giving information on what is happening, whether the ball is swinging a lot or anything happening in the wicket at all. And obviously during the game you don't I don't make any decisions or anything as such, but I will be passing on the information that I see on the screen. So my job or my role becomes irrelevant if I do not track the necessary things that are happening and my coaches want, right? During the game or to discuss post game what happened during the game, we need to make some notes as well. A lot of the coaches do, a lot of the coaches forget to do, right? And that's not because they don't want to do, that's not because they're lazy to do, they just don't because they watch the game. And watching the game gives them so many different perspectives. But you sitting there, you are like taking notes over there for their sake. But you're not just taking notes. If they ask you for any information, you show them. And matchup comes up, there is a screen next to me which will have, it's a pure computer, then you share that information in that screen, they see that. So every single ball is tracked, understanding where they have bowled, why they should be bowling. The bowling coach gets up and then passes on the information to the 12th man or the fielders on the boundary. Obviously the batting coach, they have their information. So when Shane Watson and Praveen Amre were the batting coaches and assistant coaches with DC, Shane Watson used to take his notes. He used to ask post game if he wants anything. Whereas Mr. Praveen Amre, obviously he used to be sitting next and he will take notes as well, and he will ask then and there if he has any questions. So there are different ways of working like that with people, right? So it's about what they want, and if you are able to suffice their queries, that's it. So in short, there is not much that you will actually be doing in a live game. And this is what I actually liked about in Australia. You don't necessarily have to sit in the dugout as an analyst. You can go back and sit on in your dressing room or in any of the galleries where actually you want to sit quietly, observe what's happening. I personally don't think analysts sitting in the dugout should have, if as long as they have a clear view of the ground where the fielders are, because you wouldn't want to miss out on the fielders, what where they are coming from, how in which angle they're actually cutting across, whether they're going approaching for the catch in the right way or not. Obviously fielding coach will be taking all this information, but if you have this information, it's a plus. Your job as an analyst is to observe everything. It's a systematic
And
observation that you actually will go through during the game.
yeah, just one thing, just from this matchup talk, we've seen this IPL and we've seen in T20 cricket over the last few years this word matchup. And we've seen that Yuzvendra Chahal has not been given a ball when there is a left-hander batting. When a right-hander is batting, the off spinner is not bowling. Uh, as an analyst, and this is something that I don't know, I feel very strongly about. Do you think that instinct has gone out of T20 cricket because of over analyzing stuff, or is it just
No,
something that has
no, no.
happened?
It is done wrongly. Chandresh, I'm telling you this again in all honesty
Hmm.
from my experience also. Obviously, I don't go and play inside, but the kind of the level of hype that they give for the matchup is is to be avoided. Honestly, if you ask me, Secondly, you should believe and back the strength of your players, right?
Hmm.
Forget about who is who versus who, all that. If Chahal versus David Miller is a good matchup, how will you know that in that particular game? Only when he
Hmm.
bowls. If Chahal is going to bowl six balls googly pitching on the good length, forget about David Miller. Even Bradman cannot score sixers,
Hmm.
right? So my
Hmm.
point is that why you give too much importance to who is playing there? If you can execute as a bowler, this is where I said, people like James Hopes used to be phenomenal in terms of what they actually transcend their knowledge to the players, right? They will be sitting down and making notes and say, I don't care about this, but I do this. See, numbers will never tell you lies, but it is about how Chahal would have executed to David Miller that actually makes them think that is not a good matchup. It's not
Hmm.
off spin versus right hander. It's about who is that off spinner to where he wants to bowl to this right hander and how he has executed that before. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah.
Knowing very well, Donovan Ferreira will go and bowl half tracker, half volley to somebody like Deval Brevis. You go and give the ball to him again, he goes after you for five sixers. But if you know Matthew Short is going to do that trick for you against a particular type of batsman at the top, say Rian Parag, there is no way. I mean, how in what sense Rian Parag is lesser to Deval Brevis? In what sense Donovan Ferreira is different from Matthew Short? Right? So the matchup is not per se that's the role alone. It's also the type of player that you're talking about and where what their experience has been in the past. I know, as a matter of fact, Akshar Patel has time and again bowled well against lefties. And I know in our meetings, in our memberships, coach Ricky Ponting used to tell, no, I don't care who is playing. I want Akshar Patel to bowl in the power play, and we've had massive success doing that, right? So I think that again is probably overhyped topic. People start talking, like I said, in one of the recent chats as well with somebody. Uh, there's too much of people out on the Instagram and all. They're trying to say that okay, this is the trend, this is the pattern, this is what we need to do. It's all the first timers, probably the newcomers who want to show what they can and what they have in their mind. But that's okay. I mean, that's for the media side of it. That's not for the real game. Yeah.
Sriram, thanks a lot for your valuable time. Really helpful talking to you, understanding the analyst mindset, auction, everything under the sun. We could keep talking for hours together. We've spoken a lot during our time at the IPL. So there are lots of things happening. Hopefully, we'll get to chat with you very soon again. Thanks a lot for your valuable time today.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.